Question of the day. What is your favorite bluffing game? Now, our classic one as a kid was the old, well, it has a lot of different names, but, bull, where I'm laying down 3 queens. You'd lay 3 queens down, right? As a kid, that was our favorite because as I started working in sleight of hand and, 15 years ago became a professional magician, then I would cheat because I felt like there was no rules off limits in that game, right? Until people started getting mad that I was using sleight of hand. But that's irrelevant because today we're talking about a bluffing game that doesn't involve sleight of hand. It involves only bluffing, kind of. Today we're talking about truth or bull. Let's take a look at this in kind of bluffing, kind of intuition sort of game right now. So this is the setup for Truth or Bull. You're going to get a hand of cards here with numbers in it. The active player will then look at the list of target cards. Now you'll look at the top card of the target card deck. These are things like 1, 50, or 25. So there's a mixture of those 3 numbers repeated. You also get a truth and a bull token. These will be face down because you're going to put those out when you're the non-active player to determine who you think is telling the truth or lying, which you will get points for. So let's say that I'm the active player and the number's 50. I'm then going to place a card. Now this would be secret information known only to the active player. I'm then going to place a card down in which I am saying the target's 50. Now the target doesn't have to be 50. I could lie here. And determining if I'm lying is one of the things the non-active players will do. There are ways to score points here, just so we know there's a table really nicely how you do this. But first of all, the active player can score points for fooling over half the people, which means that if they all think that I say the target's 50 and it's actually a 1 and they all think I'm telling the truth, I've fooled over half the people, I would gain 2 points for that or 3 points for that. Another way to score points as the active player is to be the closest or second closest to the target. So ideally, I could say the target is 25 here and I'm still the closest. But if I'm also, let's just say I am the closest. So if I say the target's 25, it's actually 50. Everyone tries to put cards under the 35 to get closer, well then that's going to dissuade them. I'll be the closest, I'll get 3 points based on that. Person who's second closest gets 2 points. The other way you can get points as the non-active player is by voting. So let's just say I say the target's 50 and I put down something like a 7. Well, foolishly, everyone's going to know obviously that's a lie because why would I play a 7 unless it is the highest card I have, which could throw people to. So ideally, you're going to be playing these cards out here in order to get them to think that you are either telling the truth about what the target is or whether you're lying. The problem with that is there's no real basis of information other than what the person did the last time it was their turn. There's nothing you can do to evaluate. There's no way you can look at your cards and know that. So essentially you're going to be watching how the person has played before. So the first round, everything is going to be kind of a crapshoot. You're not going to know anything about it other than, this person would probably lie. Well, the problem with that is that there are 3 different numbers, 1, 25, and 50. So even if they do lie, or even if they do tell the truth, you might still be wrong in playing the closest number card out there. So let's just say, non-active player, right? They would say it's a 25. Now, we don't know what this card is. And they have played, let's just say, a 6. Now, at this point, I think, probably lying, I'm going to play a 7. At which point, I could actually be the second closest or third closest, depending on what all the other players do. Again, if this sounds confusing, it's really not. They're going to lay a card, they're going to look at this card, see what it is. They're going to announce whether it's 1, 25, or 50, lying or telling the truth. We're then going to play cards what we think based on if we think they're lying, closest to that card. And then we're going to vote, I think they're lying, like that. You'll turn it up and evaluate it. You'll get points if you're correct in your voting. You'll get points if you're the closest or second closest. You're going to get fooling points if you're the active player and you fooled over half the people. And you're going to get bonus points if you manage to get closest or second closest and fooling points. In a regular game, you play until someone has been the active player everyone has been the active player twice. Person with the most points wins the game. So that's truth or bull. It's weird. You can't call it a deduction game because there's no information to deduce. You can call it a bluffing game, although because there's no information based on a prior round, it's hard to call it a bluffing game. So let's start art direction, all that stuff. Back of the cards have the name of the brand on it. I thought that was interesting. not the best looking game in the world. I don't think it's meant to be. I think it's meant to be what it is, basically a bluffing game that you sit down and play with your friends. You don't even need the tokens of the owl and the bull. I'm not sure, where that's coming from. Maybe owls mean wisdom, which truth, wisdom, something like that, and bull, obviously. But point being, not the prettiest game in the world. It's not something you're going to show off and be like, dude, you got to see this game. But again, I'm not so sure that's the purpose of it in the first place. The purpose is to have this moment of, we're playing a bluffing game, right? So then how the game plays. Well, here's where it kind of breaks down for me. You are bluffing every time you're the active player, right? You're bluffing and saying, it's a 25, or it's a 1, or it's a 50. Hopefully not like that, or you're going to get called out every time. But here's where it kind of breaks down, is the fact that the only thing you can do to bluff, or the only way you can guess if someone's bluffing, is based on that exact moment. There's no prior information. You can't deduce anything. So it becomes a fresh new round every time someone's the active player. And it's silly at that point, because you don't have anything to work with. You can't say, oh, they did this last time, I bet they're doing this, right? You can, at that point, it's just guessing. So that's what kind of falls apart for me. It's actually just guessing, because you're not really bluffing. Yes, you can see what card they play, but think about it. You could play a 24, say the number's 50, actually be 1, and assume everyone's going to play, cage their bets and play above you, but also not below you. Little things like that. Yeah, there's nuance, but it just kind of falls apart with the idea that there's only 3 options for the target cards. There are only a certain amount of cards that you can play the numbers, but there's nothing you can do to really throw suspicion off, or to really say, no, I know it's this. Like, my favorite part of the resistance, and again, that's a different type of game, even though it's about bluffing and deducing. My favorite part of the resistance is when people go, wait, let's stop for a second. You sent them on this mission. These are the 2 results. Vis-a-vis, you shouldn't send them then, blah, blah, blah. It's got to be you. You're a spy, most likely. 90% sure you're a spy. You can't do that with this one. You can just, well, he said it's 50. I mean, it's kind of strange. So I'm not a big fan. Truth Bull, Bryan Drake, here on the Dice Tower. Game kind of falls apart. I don't know who this is for, but not my group. So we'll see you next time.